were I to kidnap someone and drive them around for 12 hours to disorient them. Like, that's what I would do. Okay, well, hi, you're listening to The Triad, where we're spooky but sensitive. I'm Shelby.
I'm Hannah.
I'm Shannon.
Go
Yeah.
team.
Yeah. Do we have any announcements?
Maine is stupid.
Adults need to learn how to not act like children, because I will 100% treat you like a child if that's how you're gonna act at work. That's all I have to say.
Mine is that Allie's surgery went really well.
Yay!
Yeah, she actually has feeling in her arm for the first time in like 10 years.
She told
so
me
that's
that.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because she and I were talking when she visited us. We were talking about how I don't have feeling in my left arm and she doesn't have it in her right, but now she has feeling again.
Yeah, they just had to move one of her nerves. It's fine.
It's cool. You know. Just
Yeah.
simple things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then when this comes out, I will be at her house for 2 weeks. Oh, she also told me today that she can't drive for the first, or until she has her follow-up appointment, so I get to drive her to and from work for several days. And she gets to work at like 7 a.m.
Disgusting.
No,
I say as if I don't go to work at 6, but you know.
Yeah, I don't
I was
though,
like
so
almost 20 minutes late to work today. Just wasn't working out for me.
Yeah, I was gonna be early, like not by much, but enough, and then it was pouring down rain, and everyone decided to drive to campus today, so I had to park super far away. So that was fun. It's fine. I had to park next to the cemetery.
Ooh.
That's very
There's a
on
cemetery
brand.
right next to the library I work at.
Yes.
It's rush hour
that's
right
it.
now, so that might be with some of the noises.
No, you're fine. We shut down our Patreon because I don't want to deal with it anymore. Basically.
I mean, fair.
We only had one patron, and like if we ever get to a point where, you know, more people are asking for us to start one, that's fine. But it's not.
But we're
worth
the only
effort,
people
in
who
my
listen to
opinion.
this, so.
Yeah, so like it's just not worth the effort anymore, in my opinion. So, no more Patreon.
Yay. Hooray. Hannah, just tell Matthew to give you money every month.
Well, Matthew and I are starting our own podcast, so it's...
Yeah, I know. So just
He
be
can
like,
keep his
hey,
money.
Matthew.
Okay.
Anyway, teaser, spoiler alert.
Yes.
I think
Oh my
that's it.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Okay, Shelby, what are we talking about today?
Today we are going to be talking about the 1976 Chowchilla kidnapping.
Oh my god, I love this story!
I've never heard of this once in my life.
Oh, cool.
Really?
Okay.
You might
Yeah.
once you hear what it is.
Maybe.
Yeah. Also, this is,
I'm gonna look up pictures.
well, I told Shannon, but, like, Hannah, when I messaged you guys earlier this week, and I was like, my topic's, like, kind of a bummer, and I might change it, because I'm manic. It was 1,000,000% the caffeine that was making me manic. So, not actually manic, I was just hyper for, like, 4 hours, and I haven't slept in, like, the last 3 days, so I am no longer hyper. So we're sticking with this topic. So there you go. Hello?
Hooray!
Hello.
Sorry,
Okay.
just
Okay.
waiting.
Okay. But yeah, so we are going to be talking about the Chowchilla kidnapping. So basically, how it started is July 15th, 1976, 26 school children ages 5 to 14 got on the bus from Dairyland Elementary School and were headed home. It was like a summer school program, which is why they were there.
Where is this taking place?
Chowchilla, California.
Thank you. Okay.
Yes. Yuki, I swear to fucking God. Good God. Okay, anyway, moving on. All right, so all these kids were on the bus. Did I say that they were ages 5 to 14? I don't know.
Yes.
They were. Okay, so they were on the bus. The bus driver's name was Ed Ray. And then around 4 p.m., as they were going down the road, a van, like, pulled out into the road and, like, blocked their path. And then 3 men got out of the van and basically hijacked the bus with a sawed-off shotgun. And then it was, like, one of them... Also, they were, like, wearing, like, pantyhose over their face. As you do when you hijack a bus, apparently. But basically, one of them had, like, the sawed-off shotgun and was, like, with the kids and the bus driver, like, in the back of the bus. And then one of them drove the bus, and then the other one drove the van that they had used to block the road. And they took them down to, like, a riverbank and parked the bus in some, like, weeds and dry brush and all of that to kind of, like, hide the bus. Pulled a van up to the door of the bus and then forced all of the children and the bus driver to jump from the bus into the back of the van so that they would not leave footprints.
Okay. I have heard of this. I just don't remember, like, literally anything about it.
Yeah.
I remember a story of children being kidnapped from from bus, but I literally remember none of the details.
Yeah. So, they had to, like, split them up into 2 vans because essentially they wouldn't all fit in one because it was 26 children.
Yeah.
Their bus
Plus
driver.
the bus driver.
Yeah.
And so basically it was like these vans that what had they done to it? Basically they had blocked out all of the windows on the vans and then put up, like, paneling to make like wood paneling within the van to make it kind of like a little jail cell essentially. So it was, like, pitch black in there.
Ew.
A 70s jail cell.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
The most 70s jail.
Yeah, they had, like, painted out all the windows and then put up this wood paneling so you couldn't see in or out. There was no air ventilation, like, no food, no water, no toilets. And so they're packed in these 2 vans, essentially.
Okay.
And then the kidnappers drove them around for nearly 12 hours.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Essentially to make it so that, like, they didn't know where they were or, like, stuff like that. So they just drove around for, like, 12 straight hours. It's July in California.
Yeah.
So
also, weren't some of the kids in, like, their bathing suits because it was a summer program?
Yeah, it was like a summer program. Yeah.
So they had been at the pool that day, and so there were, like, kids in swimsuits, just like, why?
Jesus.
Yeah.
I have a question that
Yes.
it might be completely dumb and you might not know the answer. Did they, like, stop for gas? Because I can't imagine those things got good gas mileage.
Honestly,
Like, that was just the first thing I thought of. Like, how do you drive a van for 12 hours
yeah,
straight
like,
without
that was
stopping?
one of my questions, too. And, like, I honestly don't know, but you can't drive for 12 hours and not stop for gas.
No.
And it's 1976 in a van. So, like, they must have.
Okay.
Maybe they brought their own,
But-
or maybe there was just enough lead in
That's
the
true,
air
they
that
may
everyone...
have.
that
It's
the
just
van
in
drove
the
itself.
gas.
Well,
It was just in the
and-
tank by osmosis.
Right. But Chowchilla is also, like, a small town. And so, like, in a remote area, like, it is not near a city.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it could have 100% been that they, like, stopped for gas, but, like, in some outskirts in the middle of the night, blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
So...
I do like Hannah's theory that they just had their own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
like that theory.
That is what would make sense to me.
Yeah.
Were I to kidnap someone and drive them around for 12 hours to disorient them. Like, that's what I would do. But I would not actually do that.
Not to jump ahead, but these are some pretty stupid criminals.
Yeah,
most are.
Fucking dumb.
These are, like, stupid with a capital S.
Yeah. They...
Backwards S.
They, like, had a plan, and then...
Okay, but did they?
Well, I mean,
anyway, I will jump ahead.
They had a plan, but it wasn't a good plan.
There's like a thing, I don't know, I say this every single time. I don't know if I saw it on TikTok or on Twitter. I say this every single day, pretty much. Where people are like, you do realize that no criminal is actually, like, smart. It's just the police are incompetent. So when someone says that a criminal is stupid, I'm like, that's a given to me. So are they, like, extra stupid? I'm guessing that they're extra stupid.
They're, like I said, they're stupid with capital S.
Okay.
We'll get into why they're stupid, okay? Like, it's just,
Because, like, even, like, Ted Bundy, he wasn't that smart. He made really stupid errors. It's just that the police were incompetent and didn't know how to look for a serial killer.
Ted Bundy was a smart person, but he was a really stupid criminal.
Yeah.
Because that's what everyone says. They're like, oh my god, he was brilliant, blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, but he was also
wasn't that, like...
Well, and, like, having a high IQ doesn't actually make you a smart person. Because technically, my uncle is, like, registered with Mensa, but, like, the dude blew up his dorm room and got kicked out of college and is a hermit and a hoarder and, like, not that that makes you unintelligent, but, like,
there's different levels of intelligence. There's different types of intelligence. He
can't speak to a human and, like...
There's different types.
He's always like, but I have a high IQ, and I'm like, yeah, but, like... You can't hold a job, so good for you.
I just have a lot of opinions about Ted Bundy's, like...
No, I do too. I'm not saying that
appearance. Not appearance, his, like, characterization.
Oh,
yes, in the media. They're like,
in the media and, like,
blah,
in our
blah,
popular
blah.
lore, like, he didn't actually even graduate law school. He went to a very bad law school when he
how
did
smart
go.
Can you be if you work on a Republican campaign? Just not trying to be a dick, just saying.
Oh my god. I mean, points were made.
Also, I'm so hungry, I would be surprised if you couldn't hear the growl that just came out of my stomach.
Oh! I was going to ask you this, and then I forgot. I'm sorry we're going on tangents, but...
no, you're good.
It's related to food. Hannah, have you heard of or had the candy bottle caps?
Oh, right.
Bottle caps?
Yes.
I know what they are.
Okay. Shelby had never seen them or had them before until this week, and I was in shock, because I thought they were more, like, common than they apparently are. I just think they're
gross.
Oh, I love them.
It tasted like...
I think they're gross.
But
I also like old people candy. Like, I really love candy corn. I really love, what are those ones that come in the wax thing? Those wax bottle things.
See, I like those.
Those are disgusting.
I like button candy.
I like those. I like button candy.
Oh, button candy's delicious.
Yeah.
It's just sugar on a piece of paper, and sometimes you get a little
great.
bit of paper. It's great.
Right?
What more could a girl ask for?
Like, surprised, because she never even heard of it before. And I was like, I thought this was like a common candy, but...
I know, but then there's a lot of things that we bring up that you don't know because you're from the Midwest and you don't know anything.
Yeah,
well, that's the thing. So I was like, is it a Midwest?
I've just never
I don't know.
Had one or seen one or heard of it. I don't know. It might just be me because I don't know.
Shelby and I had such inconsistent childhoods that it's like really hard for us to pin
really
down what we do and do not know.
That's
yeah. It's like one of those things where like also like I don't remember various parts of my childhood, and so it could have just been part of the years that I repressed. So
I just have a huge sweet tooth and remember candy, so
yeah. Oh, before we like get any further into this and while we're on tangents,
are you gonna bring up the other thing?
Yeah, tell Hannah about how you blew my mind last night.
Okay, so I don't know how we got onto this topic. But I don't, we talk, we live together, we talk a lot, and we get on tangents within tangents within tangents. So, I brought up how sometimes people from the Midwest say pry instead of probably, but if you point it out to them, they will categorically deny that they do it because they don't realize that they're doing it.
I have never once in my life heard somebody say that.
See, you say that, but then Shannon said it to me last night in a sentence, and she was like,
Use
"See,
it
I
in
just
a
did it
sentence.
right there."
I'm probably going to go do that. Like, I'm probably going to do that. It's just in place of probably. I promise you, you've heard people say it. You just didn't notice because your brain autofills it as probably. Like, I noticed it in, like, college or so, and one of our friends in undergrad said it, and I'd already, like, noticed it in the past, and I was like, oh, you just said probably instead of probably. Like, that's such a weird thing that we do. And he was like, I didn't do that. And I was like, you literally just did.
Who was it?
And then...
Yeah, well, of course.
Yeah, I know. And then,
I did.
So, and then also, Christine from And That's Why We Drink, she does it all the time. She does it constantly. So, it was just a thing that I noticed.
Yeah, but to quote Christine from And That's Why We Drink, English is not her first language.
It's not, no, but it is mine, and I also do it, so.
Yeah, you say a lot of things that I take offense to.
Okay, you say Reese's.
Yeah, I know. I've been trying to be better about it. You know what I've started saying, and it really drives me crazy? I've been saying rum instead of room, because that's how everybody up here says it. Like,
Oh my goodness.
go to so-and-so's room, and I'm like, oh, what?
Yeah. But yeah, I told Shelby that, and she had never heard of it before, and then I Googled it just to be like, I promise it's a thing, and it's just a bunch of Reddit threads being like, other people say this, right? And then it's a bunch of people being like, I've never heard this, but then other people who are like, you definitely have, you just didn't notice because your brain isn't going to let you say pry, and so it just fills it in as probably. So I suggested that could be her thesis for grad school. Who says pry instead of probably?
Now I'm going to study it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like how my grandma says she doesn't say potatoes instead of potatoes, and I'm like, Patricia, you literally just said bodata. There was no P involved.
Or like, I mean, my mom says fucking warsh, and then if you bring it up, like, it's not a super hard R. It's not like as noticeable.
It's worse.
Yeah, it's not like as noticeable as it is with some of my other relatives or other people from the area.
I was going to say, the people who live across the street from, like, my parents, they say
they do it
so badly.
They also say Italian instead of Italian.
They do.
And when I dated their son, I was like, do you say idly? Like, what are you doing?
I don't know.
It's pronounced
they're fun
Itali.
people, and I like them, but they're definitely, like, Freeburg people.
Yes.
Wait, what was... Oh, I got called out the other day because I said tinfoil instead of aluminum foil.
What?
And I was like, get over yourself.
Is it aluminium foil?
Aren't those
I do live in New England,
interchangeable?
so it might be.
Yeah. Aren't those interchangeable?
That's
Like,
what I thought.
apparently
He's
not.
like, there's no tin. I was like, shut up, nerd.
Aluminum
Okay.
foil just takes so long to say.
It does. It hurts my mouth. I get tired at the end of it. I can't be involved.
There's too many syllables. It's too much work.
Aluminium.
Oh,
I was okay. Sorry I have one more thing to say, and then I'll shut up. But
Yeah,
I
we'll actually
was-
get on topic.
oh, I can't actually say this. Never mind. I'll tell you guys privately.
Okay,
Okay.
that's fine. Okay.
Peppa Pig is turning children British. That's all I have to say.
Oh no, I've seen that. Yeah.
This is like incredibly so. I'll tell you later. All right, keep going.
I had one last thing. I had
We've said that like 4 times.
I know.
30 minutes later, and one more thing.
No, I went to summer camp with a girl, way back in the day when I was a child, and she had a British accent.
Well, I would suppose you didn't go to summer camp last year, Shelby.
Well, you
sorry.
never know. You never know. Maybe I did. Maybe I was a camp counselor.
Okay.
Except it was COVID, so no.
That's true.
And you would have said you were a camp counselor, not that you went
Right.
to summer
Probably would've
camp.
Also, that's my worst nightmare, so
Yeah.
no.
Anyway.
I did enough of vacation Bible school camps. Thanks. But yeah, I went to summer camp with this girl, And she had a British accent, and it's the middle of like backwoods Wisconsin. So I was like, why the fuck do you have a British accent? And she was like, because my parents thought it would be funny to give me a British accent. So for the first 8 years of my life, they spoke with a British accent.
That's weird.
Yeah.
That is some, like...
And then
1960s,
they
70s
stopped, and she had one because she was, like, past the point of, like, when your accent develops, because that's usually around, like, 5-6 years old. And she was like, yeah, it's not funny. And I was like, okay.
I wonder if that went away over time.
It probably did, because if you don't hear things
did.
consistently.
Yeah.
Yeah, like,
Well,
that's why
and it's
I don't have an Australian accent anymore, is because,
Yeah.
well, also I, like, made myself get rid of mine, but, like...
Well, it's also just how, like, I started randomly saying my A's in a very Chicagoan way the longer I lived in Chicago. Even though no one I spoke to did that.
Yeah, she probably has, like,
picked them
certain
up.
words that she will say that way.
Yeah.
Like, with an approximation of an accent, but, like, most likely she doesn't still have, like, a full British accent.
I hope
Alright,
she
let's
doesn't.
get going.
Yeah.
Yes.
Not to break this up, but, like...
No, like, we need to actually get
gotta
back
go.
on topic. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so the kidnappers drove the kids around for 12 hours inside of sweltering pitch black vans. And when they finally stopped, they had taken them to a rock quarry that was about 100 miles away from Chowchilla in Livermore, California. They made the bus driver and all of these kids, they took them out of the van one by one and then sent them down into a hole that was in the ground in this quarry. And basically they ended up inside of an old truck trailer that had been buried in the ground.
Okay.
And yeah, so they sent the kids in, like, one by one. And then in this like truck trailer that was down in there, they kind of like reinforced the inside of it with like rebar, and then they had like made toilets in the wheel wells, and then there were containers filled with water and with food, and basically I say food, but it was boxes of cereal, tubs of peanut butter, and loaves of bread. So
Great.
You know, great provisions. And then they had installed 2 ventilation pipes inside of this trailer that, like, led out. And once all of the kids and the bus driver were inside, they buried them. And it was buried, like, 12 feet deep in this quarry.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah. Basically, I will get into what the kidnappers' plan was later. Right now, we're going to talk about the kids and the bus driver and what happened there. So, like I said, they had reinforced it with, like, rebar, but it's 12 feet of dirt. And so, eventually, because they were stuck in this trailer underground for about, like, 16 hours. Yeah, so it was, eventually it, like, started caving in on them.
Mm-hmm.
To their credit, like, apparently these kids actually, like, managed to stay relatively calm.
Mm-hmm.
And the bus driver was, like, really good with them and everything. Like, everything I can find from, like, stories after the fact, the kids were like, no, he was great. Like, he did a good job of, like, keeping us calm, keeping us all, like, thinking we would eventually be safe and we were going to get out of this and blah, blah, blah. So, like, props to that guy.
Yeah.
I already... but yeah, so they were stuck in there for about 12 hours before it started to cave in and the roof started coming down, and that's about when they started running out of food as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that is about... It was about 12 hours into it is when they started to, like, get desperate, and, like, that's when they started to, like, freak out, and, like, they were kind of like, oh, so no, we might not actually get out of this, or whatever. And so Ed Ray, the bus driver, because they had kind of like waited it out up until that point, because they were like, okay, well, they gave us food and water, so like they have a plan, we're gonna get out of here, okay, for now, assess the situation sort of thing. And then it was around this point where Ed was like, no, we gotta get out of here, like this, we have to get out. And so he got like convinced the kids that they needed to come up with something and try and escape before things got too late. So Ed and then one of the 14-year-olds, Michael Marshall, they took turns pushing up on, they had like a manhole cover that was blocking the opening that they had like cut into the top of this trailer that they were in. And so they had put like a manhole cover over it, but then of course it's, you know, covered by dirt. And so Ed and Michael took turns pushing up on this to try and like wedge it out of the way, get it so that they could start digging their way out. And once they were able to move that, Michael started digging to get out of this 12 feet of dirt. And so that took them about like 4 hours to dig through that. And then they basically, like, Ed had to like lift these children out, and like the older kids all helped the younger kids. They basically, because there had been mattresses that they had put in this trailer for them, they like stacked all of the mattresses up on top so that they could all get and they like dug the hole at kind of like an angle so that they could like climb once they were up into the hole. So after about 28 hours total between the like 12 hours in the van and then the 16 in the trailer underground, they all got out of the trailer. They were all up above ground. Ed and all of the children started walking around this quarry trying to figure out where they were and how to get out of there. And at that point it was like daytime, and so they're walking around this quarry and there's a whole bunch of workers there who are like, what the fuck?
I'm sorry, this was an active quarry?
Yes.
Okay.
The part that they were in was not, but they walked like a couple.
Still.
Yeah.
300
Still.
feet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
These
I
are not
understand
smart
now.
people running this
I
operation.
understand now why you said they were stupid with a capital S. Okay, I just assumed that this was an abandoned quarry.
No,
because
no,
why
no.
wouldn't it be?
Nope.
Shannon,
Okay.
Just you wait.
Yeah, there's a reason why they chose this quarry too.
Yeah. Yeah.
What the fuck? Okay.
But yeah,
Shelby, are you going to mention what the criminals were doing during this time? Like, while everyone was escaping? Do you know what they were doing?
No.
They all went home and took a nap.
Oh, right. Yeah, no, I do mention that. Yeah. Because they were like, we just drove around for 12 hours and then buried a trailer.
We're tired.
We're
Gosh,
tired.
kidnapping 26 children and their bus driver really does wear one out.
Right? Like, God. Need a nap.
Oh, my lord.
Yeah, no, I do
Okay.
have that in my notes. Yeah.
Sorry.
I thought it was going to be like something exciting that I hadn't read about, but no.
No. They went home and took a
literally
nap.
took a nap.
Oh
But
my
yeah,
goodness.
so
Okay.
they're like walking around this quarry, come upon the workers, and the workers are like, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah.
Why is there
Children?
some dude and a whole bunch of kids
in swimsuits.
in bathing suits? And they like, because they were like climbing out through dirt, and most of them had on like flip-flops or sandals.
Yeah.
They like left all of their shoes in the trailer so that they could have like more traction.
Those poor
And-
kids are also barefoot.
Right? Like you're barefoot and in a bathing suit walking around a quarry after like
my
running
God.
out of food and being in like the pitch black and the heat for like 20
One of these kids is
like
5 years old.
yeah,
That's
like
a
that
baby.
poor
Yeah.
thing.
Kindergartner.
Poor thing.
Oh my god.
Yeah. But yeah, like imagine being one of those quarry workers and you're like,
And this
am
this
I
was in
hallucinating?
this was in a different town, right?
Yes, it was about
Okay.
100 miles away from the town that
Okay.
their
Yeah.
school was in.
Yeah.
So like
Okay.
a good ways away.
That's a while. Yeah, and they probably didn't even know that a bus had been hijacked.
Right, yeah. Like at that point,
Oh,
because
man.
basically once like none of the kids made it home, like their parents had formed a search party and like
Yeah.
the whole town was out looking for them, but like not that far away
Yeah.
yet, sort of thing.
Well, because they probably assumed that the bus had crashed or something.
Yeah,
You know,
and
like-
then like during their whole like search, they found the bus like parked down by this river in the bushes because it's a fucking bus. Like you can only hide it so well.
Yeah.
And so
With no footprints.
right,
Yeah.
yeah, and so they were like, okay, something must have happened, and whatnot, and so they had been like searching for them for basically about like 20 hours at this point, or
Yeah.
I don't know, probably like 24. And yeah, because I mean, the bus driver went missing too, and they found the bus, and they were like, okay, what the heck? Where is my child?
Yeah.
But yeah, so like they hadn't made it this far out of town yet.
Yeah.
And like I said, like Chowchilla is a small town, and it's pretty like remote.
Yeah. And it's the
the
70s,
area.
so it's not like there's cell phones.
Yeah. Or anything like that. And
Yeah.
so, but yeah.
Whew. Yeah.
So yeah, the workers at the quarry called the police, and
We found
the
your
police.
kids.
They were like, what do we do here? But yeah, and then so the police showed up. They like took a photo of each child as evidence, and so like you can still find those photos. And then the police took Ed and all of the children basically to the closest place that could hold all of them. Because I mean it's 27 people.
Yeah.
And so they took them to the Santa Rita Rehabilitation Center, which is the local jail.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Basically,
where else are you gonna take them?
No, I
You
know,
don't have
I
anywhere
know.
else to go.
yeah, it was
I
like
know.
the closest place where they could go and like kind of like take down their stories and everything, and then like contact their parents and Chowchilla and be like, hey, we found all of your kids. They gave them soda and apples, which
Because they were all hungry.
is a sad first meal. But yeah, like all of them were so hungry and like so
Yeah.
dehydrated. And I mean, it's a small town, little
That was probably
jail.
the best they could do.
They were probably like, someone go to the local grocery store and grab a bag of apples, and we have a vending machine.
Yeah.
And you had a long day, so here, have some soda as a treat. Feel better. Don't have trauma. But yeah, and then they like brought in doctors to examine all the children, make sure they were okay, and all of that. And of course, like called their parents, and whatnot. They were all interviewed while they waited for their parents to get there to come pick them up. And then about 4 hours after escaping, the children were reunited with their parents and then had to board another bus that would take them home. Which,
Why didn't they just let them go home with their parents?
no, their
Because-
parents were like bussed in.
Oh, okay. I
They
misunderstood.
all got
okay.
on these buses and went
Gotcha.
home
Okay.
all together.
I misunderstood. Okay.
No,
That
that
makes
was
more
my bad. I didn't really say that. But yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to get on another bus ever in my life. But
Yeah,
sure.
that was one of
right?
those details where I was like, but why would you do that? But of course, like, they don't know exactly what had happened at this
Yeah.
point, so they don't realize that it was like, the bus was hijacked, and I mean, their parents are on them with it, so it's a little bit better, but at the
Yeah.
same time, I was like, that sounds like just adding fuel to the
Yeah.
trauma fire. But
Also-
okay.
Also, Shannon, if you Google this, like if you look up pictures of the kids while they were in the jail,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of them are in like jail jumpsuits because their clothes were so dirty that they just put the
Mhm.
kids in
Yeah,
jumpsuits.
that,
and
or they're in
all their
just like
sleeves are rolled up 'cause they're so
whatever
little.
t-shirt they could find or
Yeah.
whatever.
right.
Like, these poor kids. Like,
Yeah.
it's so...
Ugh.
Ugh. And, like, even Ed, like, the pictures of him, like, you can tell that he's, like, exhausted and just, like...
Oh, yeah.
So, just, like, happy the kids are safe and blah, blah, blah. But you can tell that he's, like, gonna crash the moment he stops going, because...
Yeah.
But yeah, so all the kids were reunited with their families. They all went home, and whatnot. And so basically, that's the end of the kidnapping. Mm-hmm. So, like, no kids were actually, like, hurt, per se, besides...
Not physically.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Or anything, like, everybody survived. And so, like, in a way, it's a happy ending. But anyway, we'll get to it. But yeah, so immediately the police started digging for clues at the quarry, because they were like, okay, this is our first step to figuring out what happened. So they found the trailer that had been buried, and they, like, dug it up and all of that. It took them about 2 weeks, but based on clues that they found, they tracked down the kidnappers.
Still napping.
They're fucking stupid. Basically, they arrested 24-year-old Frederick Newhall Woods, who was the son of the owner of the rock quarry.
Oh my god.
Yeah. They're so
Are you
stupid.
What?
I told you they were so dumb.
Because they're fucking stupid.
Oh,
Shannon,
my
they're
Lord.
such bad criminals.
I can tell.
Yep. And Frederick Woods was part owner in a used car business, and his partner was 24-year-old James Schoenfeld,
Okay.
who they also arrested for being involved, and then also James's younger brother Richard.
Okay.
So it's basically this dude was like, hey, I got this quarry, and you're my business partner, so let's do this, but also we need another person, so, like, get your brother. And yeah, they're just stupid.
You gotta diversify your accomplices, dude.
Right? And honestly, like, if you look up the pictures of them, they could be triplets. Like...
Oh, man.
No.
Triplets.
No. But anyway, all three of them came from wealthy families who lived in, like, the nicer suburbs of San Francisco. They're so fucking stupid. Security guards had seen the three of them, like, in this abandoned part of the quarry, digging months before the kidnapping happened.
Okay.
So they were like, well, it's the owner's son, so, like, I guess he can do what he wants. But, like, in their investigation, they were like, yeah, no, we saw him digging there, like, months ago. So, like, with these two other guys. And I guess in the long run, now that's highly suspicious. So you might want to check out these two other guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, so investigators got a warrant to search the estate of Fred Wood's father, and they found so much evidence. So much evidence. Basically, they found a piece of paper that literally at the top of it says plan.
Oh my god.
And then sets out exactly, like, step by step, how they were going to commit the kidnapping and what they would do if something went wrong.
They're so
This can't
dumb.
be real. Like, this is one of those things that, like, if you brought this up, like, in a movie, you would be like, that's unrealistic. No one's that stupid.
They're cartoon characters.
They are.
They're literally so stupid. Like, at the top of it, you can literally, like, Google this piece of paper, and it literally says plan.
Oh my
Step
god.
A,
Wait, I want to look.
bus. Transfer the occupants. Put occupants to sleep. Take occupants to hideout. Lock them in.
Oh my
Like,
god.
I like how they had to put a
Literally.
step that said lock them in. Like,
Well, otherwise they would have forgotten.
You know,
right? Like, God.
Oh my god.
Oh, God. It's
Oh,
so
they're-
bad.
Their defense attorney must have just been like, I can't do this.
Right?
How do you defend?
You're on your own, fellas.
Yeah.
Like, you literally put step by step what you did and left it at your dad's house. The same dad who owns the quarry where you buried the
bus.
truck. Like, are you fucking stupid?
I don't know if I'm getting ahead. Where did they just get a truck? Was it just like lying around the quarry and nobody needed it?
It was just like a rental tractor trailer.
Right. Yeah, I forgot that.
Remember,
okay.
that friend runs a fucking car?
I forgot.
Yeah,
okay.
they have like a used car business, but if you like look up the pictures of it, it literally says on the truck like rental van thing. So that's how they got the vans, is that they were part of their like used car business. Like the vans that they had driven them around in. The actual like truck that they buried, I think it was a rental. It doesn't say specifically anywhere that I looked. Whether they like owned it or rented it, but I'm gonna assume that
definitely
they probably
violated
just like rented it.
The rental agreement, like
1,000,000%.
Which that's even like they now have a rental agreement somewhere potentially saying that they had the truck for a certain day.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Okay.
But
anyway,
so
let's keep going.
So they found the paper that had their plan.
That's just so fucking funny to me.
Like, even if I was gonna draw up a plan, I wouldn't just put
you
at the
label
top of the
it
page, plan. Like, what the fuck?
Dumbest.
I know.
I told you.
You're so dumb.
I said in the beginning, these are because I know a lot of criminals are stupid, but these guys are like stupid plus. Like stupid with a side of extra stupid.
I get it.
Yeah. And then they also found, along with the plan, a draft of a ransom note. So.
Okay.
Shannon's just like, I'm just so tired for their defense attorney already.
This is why I didn't go in. I mean, I wasn't going to be a defense attorney anyway or work in criminal law, but this is part of the reason why, because I wouldn't be able to do this, because I would just be like, what am I supposed to do? Like, at that point...
like, they're such fucking idiots. And, like, I don't even have the energy to try and get you a lighter sentence because you're just so stupid.
Like, at that point, you're like, we're getting you a plea deal, and if you won't accept a plea deal, the only thing I can do is make sure that your constitutional rights are not violated because you're gonna be found guilty. Like, that's what you have to do.
You
like,
can't
you
even
have
play
no
this off as,
defense.
like, oh, no, I just happen to have a random, like...
You can't
hypothetical
say that,
plan.
Well, and like you can't say that like it wasn't us, like you grabbed the wrong people, like we didn't mean for it to go that far. Like you can't argue anything. Like
right, like
so much evidence.
I literally found your plan
because you labeled it plan.
Your Honor.
I don't know why that detail of like labeling it plan just sticks out as being the funniest thing to me, but it really
like,
honestly is.
Like, why did you need to label it in the first place? Like, what else could this
Shannon,
document
they would have
possibly
thought it was the grocery list otherwise. They are so dumb.
That's true.
Anyway,
right.
Your Honor, isn't their stupidity punishment enough?
Do I have to represent them? Like, can I quit? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Okay, anyway, continue.
But honestly, like, even their plan, I said, it, like, listed out what they would do if things went wrong. And, like, if you read it, a lot of it is, like, if this thing goes wrong, their plan for what to do is hope for the best. It's literally written on there, hope for best.
I can't with this.
Like...
Oh my god.
Oh, you can't. Oh god.
Oh man. Okay. Continue. Yep. I'm crying. Oh my god.
Oh yeah.
Like I wasn't trying to exaggerate when I said
no, you were.
But they're like, it's beyond my understanding.
They're like, if there's too many kids, hope for the best. If they run out of food, hope for the best.
That's not
if
a
they
plan.
all suffocate in the trailer, hope for the best. And I'm like,
no. Friend, the best has passed. They're dead. Like, you fill the bus full of children.
Like, you're not getting your ransom. They died, okay? Like, you're gonna go to jail.
God, that's hysterical. So okay. Oh my god. Okay.
Oh my god. Okay.
I don't know what I'm expecting their
when
backup
I said
plan to be, but it wasn't that.
Yeah, when I said that this one was, like, kind of a bummer, I hadn't gotten to this part of my notes yet.
Yeah, it's really not a bummer once you look at. I mean, it sucks for the victims because yes,
right,
they did
yeah,
have
and like
trauma. However,
like in the end, when I talk about like kind of like the long run of like what's going on now with like the victims, and then like what's happened with these guys, like it's not
a bummer.
It's not terrible, but it's not a bummer, you know. Yeah. So anyway,
okay,
just their whole plan is the funniest fucking thing because it's so bad. But yeah, they also found the draft of a ransom note, and so this note says that the kidnappers want $2.5 million in actuality, but they were going to ask for $5 million.
Okay.
But
why?
They are really used car salesmen. Like,
right? Yep. Yeah, because this is just their draft, and basically, they were going to like call all of these parents or like the town or the school or whoever. I don't even know who they were planning on calling.
They would have to call the school because it's not like they know who these kids are.
Right, yeah. Like... And basically, they were going to demand $5 million, but they were only hoping to actually get $2.5 million. They weren't going to be like, I want $5 million, but if you give me 2.5, that'd be okay, I guess.
Okay.
Like,
all right.
They were like, we're gonna...
They're willing to negotiate.
We're gonna upsell this here.
Yeah.
But, like, you know.
Oh, my God. Okay.
But they weren't
halfway
actually...
through the negotiation, they just say to you, let me go speak to my manager about that. And then they, like, walk to the back.
And they're back there for 3 hours.
Laugh about how much money they're
about to take from you. And...
Yeah.
And they're like, well, we have this good deal. Also, it comes with a limited warranty. Your kid may or may not be alive.
Right.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, they weren't actually able to deliver their, like, ransom message to anybody because at the time when they tried to call, the phone lines were jammed.
Yeah, because all the parents are looking for their
kids. Because literally all of the parents, and because it's the 70s, and so they're all on, like, those, like... Landlines, and a lot of them were on the, like... You know how it used to be that, like... you
had to call the operator, and they would connect you, and...
Well, in, like, different neighborhoods, like, every phone would ring, essentially. Yeah. Like, all the phones in the neighborhood were connected.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so
only if you had a party line.
Yeah,
okay,
but
I know too much about old telephone.
Yeah, but a lot of it was in small towns, so I don't know if that was necessarily the case here, but it's possible. But either way, all of the parents had called, and the police were calling around, and, like, the school officials and all of that, or administration, whatever. So basically, like, the entire town of Chowchilla was on the phone, and so, like, they couldn't get through to anybody.
Left the ransom note on the bus.
Yeah.
I mean, they should have done lots of things differently, but
honestly,
they should have left it on the bus.
Yeah. It was less of, like, a ransom note and more of their draft of what they were gonna say on the phone. So it was more of a, like, script.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was more of, like, a ransom script and then, like, little notes of, like, well, if they say this is what I'll come back with. It was one of their, like, hope for the best if things go wrong.
This is, like, the opposite of Leopold and Loeb, where they, like, overplanned everything and then it still failed. They underplanned everything and then it still failed.
Yeah.
Well, Shannon, they had a piece of notebook paper that said plan on the top.
They did.
What more could you possibly need?
And access to a quarry.
Right. But yeah, so they, like, couldn't get through, and so that's when they were like, all right, well, we'll try again later. Let's go take a nap because we're tired. So.
Oh, they're so.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the third piece of paper that they found that was evidence. Was
Santa?
a Jack-in-the-Box wrapper, and on the back of it was written down the name of every child and Ed Ray.
Oh my God.
Every child that they had kidnapped, because as they put them in the trailer, they took down the name of every child.
Oh my god.
And you know they didn't plan that much because they had to write it on the Jack-in-the-Box receipt
Yeah.
on the floor of the van that they rented.
Right? They were like, damn, we stopped for gas and we got some snacks and oh shit, I forgot paper.
Who brought the notebook? Oh, damn it.
Well, I got this receipt.
Oh my god. I can't.
Yeah, and then they took that receipt with them.
Oh my god. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then they left that in this dude's father's house because with the other pieces of paper that were evidence because, you know, we're not going to like try and hide them or anything.
No, why would we do that?
Oh, and yeah. But yeah, and then investigators like later tested all of these papers and they found fingerprints that matched 2 of the kidnappers. So,
yeah.
There's like no way they were getting out of this.
No.
But
yeah,
God,
so
did they get themselves into it?
Yeah.
Right, honestly.
Oh my god.
Oh gosh. Okay. And then this is just like a little side fact. It's not necessarily like part of their plan and we don't know this for sure, but a lot of the details of the crime correspond to details in a book a story by Hugh Pentecost, The Day the Children Vanished, which was published in Alfred Hitchcock's Daring Detectives in 1969, and a copy of this book was found in the Chowchilla Public Library. So the police theorized that, like, that's kind of, like, what inspired these guys.
Yeah,
Again,
maybe.
hasn't really been confirmed, so it's a possibility. It's kind of a little interesting fact because a lot of the details are the same, but, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Obviously, they were all arrested, sent to trial.
They went to trial? They didn't get a plea deal?
Oh, no, I lied.
Okay, I was gonna say, like...
No, I lied. The way my brain thinks of, like, anything in that sense is the way that it's portrayed on SVU, and I know that that's not right,
No.
but I'm just like, everyone goes to court.
No.
No.
Actually, it's like, no. 90% of criminal cases do not go to court. They get a plea deal. Court is rare. Yeah. Okay, I was gonna say, like, no.
Yeah, no, they were all arrested. They did not go to trial.
Okay, I was gonna say, I hope they all pled guilty because any defense attorney worth their salt would have basically forced them within their limits to take a plea deal.
Yeah.
No, Shannon, they were their own lawyers, didn't you know?
Probably.
That's how we
But I
make
mean,
these
they all
people
came
a
from, like,
little
wealthy
dumber.
families, so...
Oh yeah, they probably got very good attorneys, but, like, there's only so much you can do.
Right. When the police
crime
are like,
this
I
dumb.
literally found your plan.
Yeah.
And the names of every child.
Next
And,
to the plan.
like, I know the contents of your
And, like,
stomach.
And
Like,
there's so much, like, circumstantial evidence, and it's just, like, no. Like, there's no way in hell that they didn't do this.
right, exactly.
Okay.
But yeah, so
What
all
would be
3
funnier if
of
they had
them...
a thing that said confession next to
I
plan,
know! Oh, man.
and it was notarized because why not?
Okay.
Yes. But yeah, so all 3 of them pleaded guilty to kidnapping for ransom and robbery.
Okay.
But they refused to plead guilty to infliction of bodily harm.
Okay.
Because a conviction on that count in conjunction with the kidnapping charge carries a mandatory sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole.
Ooh, damn.
Yeah. Or at least at the time it did.
Yeah.
And so they were basically like, I'll plead guilty to the ransom and the robbery and the kidnapping, all of that. Like, yeah, we did that, but we did not inflict bodily harm on these children.
Yeah.
So they were tried on the bodily harm charge, found guilty, and given the mandatory sentence.
Cool, guys. You just wasted everybody's time. Thanks.
Exactly. But their convictions were overturned by an appellate court?
Yep. Appellate.
Appellate? Okay. By an appellate court, which found that the physical injuries sustained by the children, which were mostly cuts and bruises, did not meet the standard for bodily harm under the law.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, and so
that's fair.
I mean, it is one of those that they didn't actually really inflict bodily harm. It was
I don't know what their standard. I don't know what the standard is.
Yeah.
I don't even know what the standard is.
Well,
in
and
Illinois.
it's not like
they
like hit the children in any way or did any of that. Like,
well, usually it has to be like some active act. I don't know, like some active movement. I know. I couldn't think of the word, and so if it was like passively inflicted, like they did other stuff that led to them being injured, but they weren't actively causing injury.
Like they were marching the kids through the desert and the kid tripped. It's not.
Yeah, and it's like a lot of them got bruises when they like jumped from the bus into the van, or like when they were lowered down into the trailer. Like
they didn't hit
they got
kid.
some cuts and whatnot, or like as they were like climbing out, they like scraped their arm on some rebar or whatever. So like
they still need that's actus reus. That's like their physical act that is that needs to be met in order for you to be convicted of that crime. I would assume.
So it's one of those that like
I get it, and I mean it's not like the other stuff can't be appealed anyway because they they can, but they're probably didn't because why the fuck would they? But
right. Yeah, and so the conviction for, like, infliction of bodily harm was overturned. So they were resentenced to life with the possibility of parole.
Okay.
So basically, just having that overturned gave them the possibility of parole. That's all it did.
Okay.
And so, as it stands now, Richard Schoenfeld was released in 2012, and James Schoenfeld was paroled on August 7th, 2015.
Okay.
And then, as of October 2019, Woods was denied parole for the 19th time. His next parole hearing is set for 2024.
Okay.
So over the years, reasons given for the denials have included his continued minimization of his crime, as well as disciplinary infractions for possession of contraband, pornography, and cell phones.
Yeah. My first thought was that he isn't showing, like, remorse for what he did, because that tends to be a reason why people get denied parole. And it looks like I was kind of right, so...
Yes.
Yeah.
So those are, like, the minor reasons why he's been denied parole.
Mm-hmm.
But in 2016, a workers' compensation lawsuit filed against Woods also revealed that he had been running several businesses, including a gold mine and a car dealership, from behind bars without notifying prison authorities as required.
What?
Okay.
The fuck?
Yeah.
I
did not know that.
know you were allowed to run a business from prison.
Apparently you are, as long as you notify authorities.
Interesting.
I assume you have to get some sort of permission and whatever. But yeah, so he was running a gold mine and a car dealership, which he was the heir from, like, both sides of his family were wealthy.
Mm-hmm.
And so he had inherited a trust fund from his parents that was worth about $100 million.
Jesus Christ.
And so I wouldn't be surprised if those businesses were also, like, inherited.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Still.
Yeah.
That's weird that if they were inherited, I would think his parents would have written something somewhere into a will or something that said that he couldn't take them over. Or that there was, like, a board of directors somewhere who was like, we're not going to have you be in charge of things because you're in prison for kidnapping a bunch of children and an adult.
Seriously.
Yeah.
That's really weird.
I don't know. They also still let him have his trust fund, so...
Well, trust funds are weird.
That's different.
I know.
Yeah, trust funds are weird.
But I don't know. It's just all... I don't know. I don't understand rich people.
Yeah. I mean, they would have... Like, their option with trust funds to be like, hey, you can't have this till after you turn 30 because you're being an irresponsible asshole and we want you to not be that before we can give you your money.
Yeah.
Why do you need to kidnap a bunch of children if you already have a trust
Seriously.
fund? Kidnap children.
Right, like, why do you want...
that?
Like, trust funds aren't, like, wills. Like, your parents don't have to die for you to be in, like, for you to have your trust fund money. Like, you get it whenever it was designated for you to get it. And so... Yeah. I mean, it may have been that his parents were like, you can't have it till you're 30 because you're an irresponsible asshole. I don't know. But
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you're right. And like, that's just like, you have so much money just waiting for you, collecting interest. It's going to be even more whenever you actually do get it. Like, why?
Right.
Why?
Yeah.
Anyway.
But yeah, and then just like one last little thing about him is that he has married 3 times while in prison and has purchased a mansion about 30 minutes away from the prison.
Okay.
That he will never live in.
Probably not.
I mean, he
might get paroled, but
in 2024 is when his next parole hearing is, and he will be 72.
Yeah.
So, also James was paroled. He was the one in 2015. He was 63 when he got out, and Richard was paroled in 2012 at age 57. Okay. I forgot to say that.
Yeah. I mean, he might get paroled.
Frederick and James were 24 at the time of the kidnapping, and Richard was 22. So, yeah.
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 I just would love to know why they felt the need to do that instead of getting access to the trust fund.
Right.
Seriously.
Instead of being like, hey, Dad, I need some money.
Yeah.
Like,
okay, here, I own a quarry and probably also this car thing that you own.
Yeah.
Right. Like, you own a business, you are the heir to 2 wealthy families, you have a trust fund worth $100 million, and you're like, I'm gonna kidnap some kids because I want 2.5 million more.
Yeah.
Like,
that's so weird.
The fucking audacity. That's kind of like where all of that stands. As far as Ed and all of the kids, Ed received a California School Employees Association citation for outstanding community service.
No.
I know. It's so cute. And then he passed away in 2012, but before he died, he was visited by many of the children that he had saved. And then in 2015, the Sports and Leisure Park in Chowchilla was renamed the Edward Ray Park, and every February 26th was declared Edward Ray Day in Chowchilla.
Aww.
Which is so cute and sweet, and like a horrible reason for why, but like, I don't know. Obviously, I don't know anything about Ed Ray aside from this situation, but I'm just like, but all of the kids who were involved were like, no, he was great. He did everything he could to keep us all calm and safe and blah, blah, blah. So, like...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did
and
he
like,
continue
I just think it's
working as a bus driver?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he basically continued working as a bus driver until he retired. Oof. So, yeah. Which, again, like, you could never get me on a bus again in my life.
Mm-mm.
But, yeah. And then, as for the kids, a study found that the kidnapped children suffered from panic attacks, nightmares involving kidnappings and death, and a bunch of them had personality changes.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I mean, all of those are signs of trauma.
Yeah.
Many of them developed fears of such things as cars, the dark, the wind, the kitchen, mice, dogs. And it's not funny, but this one makes me laugh. Some of them developed fears of hippies.
Okay. Why?
I don't know if it's because the guys looked like hippies, like the kidnappers, or what.
It was the 70s. Hippies were hit or miss.
Yeah, so...
Alright. People have fears of... I'm afraid of cemeteries because of one incident. Like, I'm not gonna, like, judge people like, based on their fears of
I literally, like, I have a phobia of sharks because of, like, a news, like, segment I saw when I was 6. So, like, it is what it is. Like...
Yeah, that happens.
And, like, these kids, again, they were, like, 5 to 14 years old. So, like, your brain associates certain things with certain things. And it could have been that, like... when they got home that night, they were watching TV and it was something about hippies. Like, who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
So, but yeah, because, like, the kitchen, mice, dogs, like, none of those things were, like, involved, but it's however their brain associated.
Mm-hmm.
things together.
Yeah.
And so a lot of them, well, actually, almost all of them had like PTSD and would have like trauma responses to things. One of them ended up, because it's in California, a tourist, like their car broke down outside of his house later in life, and so he ended up like shooting at them. It was just a BB gun, but still. And
because the kidnappers started the whole thing off by saying their van broke down.
Yeah.
And so it was, so just like things like that, and then a bunch of them ended up with like substance abuse problems, depression, and a number of them have been imprisoned for quote doing something controlling to somebody else. And so again, they're all trauma responses, and of course it's the 70s and 80s, and so like no therapy. A bunch of them have gone to like some form of therapy, but it hasn't alleviated a lot of the like responses, the trauma and the all of that, which could just be a result of like the age that they were when the thing happened, or the therapy is not working for them, or I mean there's lots of reasons for why it wouldn't work. As we all know, I went through like 6 medications before I found one that like kind of works. So yeah. And then in 2016, the 25 surviving kidnapped children settled a lawsuit that they had filed against the kidnappers. The money they received was paid out of Frederick Wood's trust fund. The exact settlement amount has not been disclosed. But one of the kids, I guess he's now an adult, whatever, stated that they had each received, quote, enough to pay for some serious therapy, but not enough for a house. So, yeah, like a decent amount of money, but not enough. For all of what they dealt with and whatnot.
Did you say like what they actually sued like for? Like what the
I did
claim
not.
was?
I don't know.
Okay. I'm just curious.
It's really hard to find stuff like on the kids nowadays. Which is fine. Like they probably want their privacy and all of that. I'm sure if I dug hard enough, like I could come up with the list of names and like Google them individually, but I'm not going to do that. That is such an invasion of privacy. Most of the stuff from like survivors or like the victims that I've seen are from like 2 of the kids. One of them is Jennifer Brown Hyde. She has done like a couple interviews, and I think there's like a documentary on this, which I meant to watch, but then I ran out of time, and I think she is in that. And then Larry Park is another one of the kids who has like said stuff. They're really the only ones that I could find like quotes from or see anything about like where they are now and stuff like that, because I just did like a general like where are they now search, and that's all I could find, and I was like, I'm not digging any further than that, because if they're not
if it's not readily available, they don't want it to be,
right. And I'm not, if it's not on the first page of Google, I'm not digging further than that, because they don't want it, and I'm cool with that.
Well, I was just asking for the cause of action just because different causes of action have different restitution rules. So basically, if you sue for one thing, you might get X amount of money plus damages, but then if you sue for another thing, the limit for damages might be different. Which could help explain why the amount was so relatively low. Plus they settled, and that tends to result in smaller payouts. So.
Yeah, I didn't really look into like what they sued for. So
there's
I don't know
different things they could have done. So I was just wondering.
Yeah, and again, like the amount that they settled on wasn't disclosed.
Oh, we're never gonna know that.
So like
that's probably part of the settlement, is that they can't say how much they settled for.
Yeah, for sure.
That's very, very common.
Yeah, and just like again, from the few people that like have come forward and like will talk about it. Jennifer Brown Hyde, she is now a wife, mother, and executive assistant. And she basically says that until just recently, she could not sleep without a nightlight. She still isn't comfortable with it, even now, like the dark.
Yeah.
So, Michael Marshall, he was the 14-year-old who, like, dug them out, essentially. He's a father and a long-distance trucker, and he has a therapy dog named Blue, and he says, I rescued Blue before he was a year old, and now he rescues me every day. And it's so sweet, and, like, I'm so sad that he has to have a therapy dog, but also...
happy that he has access
says that,
to a
like, that dog
dog
literally saves his life every single day. So, and then Larry Park owns a handyman business and volunteers as a pastor at a local church, and he says that he has forgiven the kidnappers. So, those are really, like, the only three that have ever really, or as far as I can find, have ever really, like, said anything past initial interviews and, like, around the time. But yeah, so like I said, not necessarily a bummer because all the kids survived and, like, no one was severely hurt or anything, and all of the kidnappers, like, went to jail and, like, were punished for their crime and blah blah blah. But at the same time, like, it's not a bummer because all of these poor children ended up with such, like, lifelong trauma.
Yeah. Well, and, like, that's one of the things you can sue for is, like, basically, like, if you're harmed, you can sue for, like, lost potential earnings, if that makes sense. And so, like, if you're harmed in a way that you can no longer work, or if, like, your child is harmed in a way that they will never be able to work, you as a parent or a guardian can sue whoever harmed them and say, we estimate by X, Y, and Z that they would have earned this amount of money per year. And so because they can no longer do that and because it's your fault, we are going to sue you for that amount of money.
Yeah.
Which I feel like those kids could have made a decent argument for that because I feel like a lot of them, I mean, we can't prove it, obviously. That whole line of restitution is really speculative anyway. But I would have argued they very easily could try to get that because I bet most of them would not have had the lives that they did have if this had not happened to them.
Right.
Yeah.
You know? So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I know a lot of the trauma, of course, from the event, but apparently the press also just, like...
oh, I'm sure.
...came down hard on the town after
Yeah.
it, and, like, the kid is 5, like, and you're gonna sit there and, like, hound them for months because it was a big sensational story. It's the largest kidnapping that has ever happened in America. And so, of course, the press was like, we have a story, let's sensationalize it, blah, blah, blah. And, of course, weren't like, oh, but these are children, maybe let's not, because they don't care. That's all I really have. There's not a whole lot more to the story. I mean, you can go further in detail, but
yeah,
those are the big things that you need to know. And so, yeah, basically just really fucking stupid kidnappers.
Yeah.
So
creating lifelong trauma
for
children. And yeah, that's all I got. So,
all right then.
There you go. Sorry I didn't have a PowerPoint this week.
It's fine.
I ran out of time.
Yeah, it's all good.
So, there you go.
Yeah.
Any thoughts? Any feelings?
I
don't put plan
Yeah.
at the top.
If you're gonna commit a crime,
of your
don't
piece of paper.
don't
Don't
write it
label
out.
it. Don't label it. Don't write it
Detail
down.
for detail.
Keep it all up in your brain.
Yeah.
Or write it in code or something. I don't know.
Or just don't do crimes.
I mean,
Right,
yeah.
maybe
Especially when you
that.
have a huge trust fund waiting for you.
Right.
Just be patient. Patience is a virtue, friends.
Yes.
Right,
And
like
let's
you're
remember
literally
that.
24 years
Yeah.
old. Like, calm the fuck down.
Yeah.
You do not need millions of
24-year-olds
dollars.
do not need $2.5 million.
No,
No.
not in the 70s.
As a former
sure.
24-year-old, that was the last thing I needed.
Right. Well, and like I saw a thing where it basically said that like the annual income for a family in Chowchilla in 76 was like $6,500.
Jesus Christ. So, like, they didn't even have, like, any
So, like,
reason
the
to
town
expect
didn't-
this amount of money.
Right, like the town
Where are you
doesn't
gonna
even
spend
have
it?
that much money.
Yeah.
And so
What are you gonna buy?
yeah.
More,
so like
no.
no.
Sunblock?
Right?
What do you buy in California?
Right.
I don't fucking
A
know.
surfboard? I don't know.
A surfboard? No, they're in the desert. They don't
That's
even
true.
got that.
Yeah, they were inland. So
More dirt?
yeah. Another quarry.
Corey.
They had to pay off their truck rental because they broke the agreement because they buried
Jesus
it.
Christ.
You know.
I can't. I just can't. Oh, man.
But yeah, so yeah.
Stay in school. Don't do crime.
Don't be
label your
fucking
crimes.
stupid. And I hope that all these kids that are now adults are doing better. I know they're
Yes.
not, but you know,
Yeah.
yeah. So our ending is that we have no ending. So goodbye.
Goodbye.
Thanks for listening to The Triad. Our music is by Scott Buckley. Our audio is recorded by our sound engineers, Craig Bott and Audrey Credo.
If you like the show, please rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. You can also follow us on social media. We're on Instagram, YouTube, and Tumblr as The Triad Podcast.
We're also on Patreon as The Triad. Currently, all Patreon funds will go towards the cost of hosting the show. Each tier has its own rewards, but every patron receives our undying gratitude. Do you have comments, questions, or stories? Email us at thetriadpod@gmail.com. And thank you again for listening to The Triad, where we're spooky but sensitive.